We went from, in the year one, revenue of about 800,000 to 7 years later, revenue of $100 million. Where you start isn't where you end the race, you know, so only because you come from a disadvantaged background and maybe the stats say people who come from this background or look like this, 10% less likely to achieve X, like stats are stats. They're there to be broken. So my name is Lee Veach. I'm the co-founder and managing director of SuperAwesome. SuperAwesome is a business that focuses on the youth market. So we built a business that helped brands like Lego, Nike, Adidas connect with kids digitally wherever they are. We co-founded the business in 2013. We went from, in the year one, revenue of about 800,000 to 7 years later, revenue of $100 million. Went from just being a London-based business to being a global-based business over those years, going from employing 12 people to 200 people. So it's been a good journey and an exciting one. What inspired me to start my business was, it was out of A, problem, and B, opportunity. So I'd worked in the advertising and media space for, at this point, probably about 10 years. And what I realized very quickly is that there was a huge problem going on where kids and young people were ultimately not watching normal TV anymore, and they were picking up phones and devices and ultimately getting connected to the internet. And what that meant is that TV viewing was going down in a big way for young people, and digital consumption was going up in a huge way. But what that presented was a problem, because when you think about advertising to kids and young people, how do you make money as a website or an app for kids? It was really difficult. They had to plug in Google AdWords and ad networks that ultimately were serving kids really bad, inappropriate adverts. So for example, kids were seeing gambling adverts, unhealthy food adverts, alcohol adverts, and I just felt personally that was wrong. So the first bit was there's this broken kind of ecosystem occurring where kids are going to be exposed to bad adverts. And on the flip side, I realized that actually the more that kids are using digital, the more brands who want to reach these young people are going to need to find a way and understand how to reach them. So I knew that with TV going down and digital going up, there'd be a big business to be built. So wanted to fix a problem on one hand, but also in truth wanted to build something big and global and scalable. So it came from problem and opportunity. And I think if you look back at a lot of the best businesses that are built, there's always a problem at the core and at the heart of it. And that's what we sort of identified at SuperAwesome. The business partner that I partnered with we just had a lot of things in common. We'd both built businesses before, we both had our own exits. His one was a lot more successful than mine, to be fair. But we had lots in common. We both loved hip hop music, for example, and we shared a common ground there. We both had the same kind of family values. We both had hard beginnings in different ways. He was from Ireland, for example, I was from South East London, so very different but hard in different ways. So we just really had a really good connection. And then probably lastly, we just had a vision that we shared. The nice thing about my co-founder was that we actually got to know each other over time. We both had different businesses, and we actually merged our businesses together to create SuperAwesome. So we got to know each other and kind of know how we did things and stuff. And it really worked in terms of what his skill set was and what mine was. And one of the things I hear from some old investors that invested in SuperAwesome is one of the big reasons they invested was, ultimately our founding team. They felt that we had, my skill set was always about commercial product, building high scalable teams. My co-founder was really strong at vision and product and, sort of raising capital from investors. So you kind of had those skill sets. You put them together and it ultimately, that recipe builds a really nice cake. And yeah, we're a good cake, I suppose. I think as a founder, you've got to be courageous and you've got to just, really follow that instinct. I remember going to the US, and I remember my co-founder saying to me, like, "Where are you taking me?" And I was like, "Taking you to a meeting." And he's like, "But this is so far out of New York. This is crazy." And I just said to him, "Just trust me, trust my gut. I know this is going to be a big partner for SuperAwesome in the US, and I know that it's going to pay off." And he was like, sort of raised his eyebrow, but again, we're co-founders for a reason. And anyway, we went on this journey. I think it was 2 trains and an Uber to get to this meeting, and the meeting was incredible. They became our first US partner. They committed multiple millions of dollars of support to our business, and they actually did a press release with us that meant overnight we became, a real credible, legitimate business in the American market. And then it just flowed from there, and we were able to make more hires in America, send over more of our team from the UK to the US to build that culture and build that business in the US. And that was all off gut and instinct. So yeah, I think you should follow your gut, you should follow your instinct. I really enjoyed the corporate life. I worked in quite big corporate companies in media and advertising early in my career. And what that does give you is it gives you structure. It gives you, great training, access to great training. I had some amazing training courses that I went on. I said yes to everything as a young person coming into his career, because I just felt this is all opportunities to learn and develop. So I felt like, I had access to really good facilities early on. But then also, the truth is, if you work hard, you can get opportunity. And I was lucky enough to get some opportunities early in the bigger corporate world that allowed me to move up and get exposure to new things. But what I realized very quickly when I left the corporate world and joined the startup world is the startup world was for me. I loved the pressure of being in a small team, really understanding, what you did made a difference to keeping the lights on in the building, and made a difference to can you afford to pay the staff over the next 6 months. I liked that pressure, and I knew instantly that I loved advertising and media, and that's where I wanted to continue building. But actually, I wanted to do something more in a startup vibe, that you could grow from small into something big, which obviously with SuperAwesome we were able to do. When we went out to the market to try and raise investment, we got so many no's. Literally we had term sheets ready to go, to raise $1 million, and that got pulled away at the last minute. So I think the biggest challenge was A, raising capital in the early stages, and B, not losing heart, because it's easy when you keep hearing no, the industry's small, this is not that interesting, but you have a big dream and a big goal, to just keep going. So that was the first big challenge for us, is raising capital and really making sure that we had enough funds to kind of hire the right people and build the right products and stuff like that. So yeah, cash was definitely the problem. And I think the other side is good people. When you want to build a team and a culture and you have a vision, you need the right people to come on that journey with you, because the reality of any business, it is about the people. It's about how committed they are to the mission. So I think, yeah, cash and then people were probably those early challenges for us. There's a lot of people that just didn't make it and just didn't want to be in a startup life. And I think it does take a certain type of person or individual to want to go on that sort of early stage startup journey. Finding the right investor, choosing the right investor is so critical, because the truth is, if you pick the wrong investors, you can lose a lot of time in just managing that investor and take your eye off building the business. So I think for us, we had lots and lots of conversations. And I think our first board and first investors, I think the big thing is they got the long-term vision, and they bought into the long-term vision, and they were almost comfortable in the fact that, we were probably going to burn some cash at stages, and we were going to have to invest in a product that wasn't going to make money for maybe a year. But they knew the end plan and the end goal was strong. So I think the first thing with your investors is like, do they back the plan and the vision? I think second of all is there a connection? Do you get on with them? Are they rude? Do you guys argue in the early stage of just raising money? They're probably telltale signs that there isn't a good connection there, and that actually you're not going to work well together, because the way we looked at investors is actually, we can take money from lots of different places. Actually, we want to take money from places that are strategic. So lots of our early investors were incredible, and I'm good friends with a few of them now. And they would come into the office, sit with me and my co-founder. They would say, right, what contacts do you need? Like, I've got a contact here, here, and here. I'm gonna message them now and see if we can get you a meeting. And those type of investors were huge. And then on the other side of investors, like when we wanted to scale into the US is so hard to conquer. Everybody just thinks because the market's so big, there's so much money, you open the door and the money just flies in, and it doesn't. It takes a lot of investment, a lot of work. But we had investors that knew to actually be successful in America, me and my co-founder were gonna have to spend time there. So my co-founder moved there and lived in Brooklyn, and I literally would go there for 2 or 3 month blocks and work and try and build the business, and investors have to be comfortable with that, because suddenly you're taking your eye off the UK business that ultimately is the breadwinner of the whole company. And that is, if you're an investor and you're seeing, oh, they're burning cash here, here, and here because of the US expansion, some investors don't like that, and they don't like risk. So I think you've got to get the investors that are comfortable with the risk and back the plan. So I think they're probably 2 things I'd say is there a connection? Do they buy into the vision of the business? If they want to just come in, give you money, and then make an exit and a return in 3 years, they might not be for you as a founder. There's lots of other ways to finance. You can do crowdfunding, or you can do debt financing, and there are lots of options. So you don't just have to take that investor that's the first one that comes along, but they want to change your business, because there are a lot of horror stories out there of people taking money and their business being changed overnight or it not working out, and it's sad when that happens. So yeah, lots of pitfalls, but luckily we had some amazing investors that were just incredible partners to us. I think one of the things that we've done really well as a business is we rely a lot on research, insight, and data. So what we're trying to do is actually understand where young people are today. It changes rapidly. What their favorite platforms and websites and apps are changes all the time. So I think it's really important for SuperAwesome to make sure that you are looking at data, looking at research, and really understanding your audience. And also knowing that when you're talking about young people, 16 to 18 is very different to a 10 and 12-year-old. You can't just adopt a one-size-fits-all approach and think you're going to have success there. So for us, we use research as the base. And then what we try to do is make sure that everything we build from a product perspective is is good and safe for the kids. And then on the flip side, we also like to think, is it additive to the kids' world? So from an advertising and media perspective, if you're playing a game and we're going to serve you an advert, does that advert, is it additive to your experience? Is it fun for the end user? Or is it just going to be really annoying? Sometimes the YouTube ads can be annoying for people, right? So when we're building creatives and coming up with strategies, we're always thinking about is the end user going to be safe, but is also the end user going to have fun and enjoy what we've built for them and stuff. So that's kind of the young people side. Then on the brands, for us, again, it starts with research, insight, and data. We always try to sort of, be a partner to our customers and our clients. So for example, we try to make sure that if we're going to advise them on a strategy on how they can engage with, teenagers, we want to make sure that we give them strategy that's based on robust data and information, so that actually when they run that campaign on TikTok with influencers, or they run that campaign on YouTube, for example, they're in the right environments and they're reaching the right audience. So whenever we engage with our customers, it's always, again, comes from a place of data and information. And then it comes from a place of like care. So for example, our belief is that if we keep the kids safe and if we build solutions and products for the kids that keeps them safe, then actually the brand, when they're engaging and running marketing campaigns, they'll be safe as well. The way that we stay, on top of trends is by just having conversations, constantly having regular meetings with the client, understanding their challenges. I think where a lot of businesses that service customers make mistakes is they try to enforce what their business wants on the customer, whereas we sort of spin it on its head a lot at SuperAwesome. We try to really understand the challenges and the needs of our customers and try to be curious about their challenges. And when you understand that and you listen, you can then ultimately build the right solutions and strategies from an advertising perspective for those customers. And it means that actually a lot of the products we've built actually have been built because of the customers had specific challenges and needs. So actually you're building your business around the customer, and that allows you to stay on top of the trends and the things that they need. So for example, you guys will have heard of the metaverse loads. It was a big buzzword about a year ago. We knew that our customers were thinking about how can they start to build metaverse-based gaming strategies. So our business moved there in a big way to support our customers, and now it's probably around 20% of our revenue. We've won tons of awards, from like Cannes Lions to Effie Awards, with our customers by building these great big activations in Fortnite or in Roblox that are really cool, and that's how you stay on trend, from that perspective. And then with the kids, I think with the kids, we're led by the young people, because young people, they know what's going on. A lot of the time it's young people that start trends and start cultures. So what we try to do, again, back to data and research, is try to just keep an eye on where the kids are going, what platforms they're adopting. Something like Roblox is huge. It's 300-400 million players worldwide, but Roblox has actually been around for over 20 years. But it's just the fact that now it's become incredibly popular, incredibly, trendy over probably the last 5 or 6 years. And I think that's what you've got to watch for. What platforms are blowing up? Where are the young people spending their time? And then, try to make sure you talk to them in the environments that they're at. So for example, one of our mantras is, we go where the kids are, opposed to us trying to build stuff to like make them come there. That just doesn't make sense. Young people know what they want, and they know better mostly than adults most of the time. There has been so many achievements. I think a few that stand out for me personally, I think the first I would say is getting that first yes to investment. So in 2015, we took $7 million of investment from some amazing investors. One of the investors was WPP, which is a big holding group that own agencies like Mediacom and Mindshare. They're one of the big businesses from a media perspective. So for them to sort of see what we're doing, appreciate that we're a mission, purpose-based driven business, that there's a really big market and shift happening with kids adopting digital. So for them to say yes across other investors as well was huge, because as I mentioned sort of earlier, we got so many no's. To get that yes in 2015 was like, right, we do know what we're talking about. We do have a business that can scale and grow and do great things. So I think that, raising that first $7 million investment was an incredible moment. I also think selling the business. So we sold the business in 2020 to Epic Games, who own Fortnite. And for them to approach us and see what we're doing, respect what we're doing in terms of like the products we're building, for parents and for kids, and to make the internet safer, and really appreciate that, but also really respect what we're building from a zero data privacy perspective on the sort of media advertising side, was just amazing. So we actually sold the business to Epic Games in 2020, which was awesome. And we actually bought the business back in January 24 from Epic Games, which was another big milestone and great moment. And they're big friends, big supporters of our business, but it just made sense for us to sort of get back, focus on that under 18 market, solve all of the problems that still exist for kids digital, So sort of 3 milestones in there for you, but big moments and great validation points of that we've got a great business that can last the test of time. And I think, SuperAwesome for me is a business that can, live on for 10, 20, 30 more years, which is incredibly exciting to be part of building that. My big belief is that it is the team and it's the people that get you to ride through that stuff. There's always going to be bumps in the road in any business, small, big. So for me, it is all about the team. But in terms of how we sort of recruited the right team and built from there, I think for us, we place a lot of faith in young people. So there's an amazing recruitment company called Inspiring Interns, where literally people come in, they do a 3-month internship with you, and then if it works for them and it works for you, you then recruit them. And we've got so many leaders in our business today that came through the intern route, and I would say they've not only come in with a fresh energy, a fresh perspective, they've actually been very sort of malleable. They've worn lots of different hats, they've gone across lots of different departments and had impact across the business. So I think the first piece was we really invested in sort of a youth-based recruitment strategy, which really paid off well for us. And then I think on the other side, hiring the right experience and the right experts to come in to support your growth. So, our management team, is incredibly talented. They've all had lived experiences maybe that me and my co-founder didn't have. So you try to hire people that are better than you. You try to hire people that know more than you or know things that you don't know, and that's what we did really well. So some of our sort of early hires into our management team were just able to I call them the grown-ups. Not disrespecting myself here, but we hired some people that were incredibly smart, had great knowledge in areas we didn't, like stuff like finance and corp dev and stuff like that, and they just changed the game for us. So I think that strategy of hiring young people who really want to sort of drive their career forward and want to learn, develop alongside really experienced people, and then allowing those people to coexist together. Because one of the things I'm really sad about with COVID and the return to work and a lot of remote working is that I don't think SuperAwesome would have had its success if we didn't allow sort of that younger generation that were in their first or second jobs to just sit next to the COO or the CEO or go to meetings with the most senior people in our company, because there was just so much learning that happened from both sides, and that learning just meant that everybody felt like they were on a journey together. And we've got a term at SuperAwesome that we use called SA Fam, SuperAwesome Family, and that's something that everybody buys into very early, and that means people don't just say, this is my role, I am a robot and I must do this thing. Everybody's happy to take on new challenges, and I think that allows people to feel like it's fresh, and that, oh, you know what, I'm doing this new thing and I really like this new thing. Can I do this new thing full time? And then people get those opportunities to move sideways or move in that direction. So I think the key to our success from a people perspective was trusting in young people and giving them lots of opportunity and letting them fail and letting them know that it's cool to fail because it's just part of learning, but then really hiring the grown-ups who could sort of give us, help us see our blind spots. But it's all about the team. I repeatedly say this throughout our company's history, that without SA Fam and the people, we'd never have the success that we had. So yeah, it's a big important thing for us. It is so hard to balance personal and business, but it's critical you find a way. My strategies have always been, okay, I know this month is going to be, I've got to give everything to this month, and I'm going to communicate with my family and my friends and let them know, look, this month you're not going to see much of me. I'm going to be on the road traveling, you know, but I promise you when I'm back, we're going to spend some great time together. And that's what I learned to do. I learned to sort of look into the sort of 3-month future, work out, right, I know I've got this crunch period coming, so I'm going to work as hard as I can over that period, be transparent and communicate with my family and friends. And then, you know, that week or two when I got back, you know, it would be seeing family, seeing friends, spending high quality time with family. And what I learned is that was my recharge. By learning to sort of plan ahead, learning to, you know, kind of make sure that after that crunch period you had a holiday or you had some fun with family and friends, and it ended up recharging me to sort of go again for that next crunch period and busy period, you know, because, you know, founding and building a business or a brand, it is tough, you know, but it will be the most rewarding thing, you know, you'll ever do in your life if you make that leap and you take that jump. And I think the other thing I'd say is, like, one thing that I find, especially with men actually, which is something we've got to change, is a lot of the time there's this bravado. I'm all right, I'm just going to keep calm and carry on, I'm going to keep going, and they don't communicate. And I think a lot of founders are guilty of this, but like what I realised quickly is, actually I'm going to have to tell like my partner, I'm going to have to tell my friends what's going on in the business and the problems I'm having and the challenges I'm facing. And even though some of them, they've never been there in their life before, just them listening and me talking meant I got therapy and I started to build solutions on how I'm going to deal with some of these things. But then you got empathy from the other side and support from the other side, and people just wanted to be there for you, you know. So I think one bit of advice I'd give to anybody building a business is let people in. Don't put the wall up and think, I've just got to keep going, I don't want to talk to anybody, because that'll be where, you know, burnout starts to creep in and you start not enjoying the process. You stop enjoying the wins, for example, you know, and just focusing on the losses and the tough stuff. So yeah, being transparent, letting people in, being vulnerable is a really important way of dealing with the personal life balance, you know, because it is a challenge, but I think they're good tactics to get around it. I'm really proud of South East London. I never wanted to leave South East London. I definitely moved out kicking and screaming, but for me, I just feel like, you know, I grew up in a sort of, you know, a fairly notorious estate in South East London. You know, and to sort of go on the journey I've gone on and have the experience that I've had, I'm so grateful for it. And I never forget like where I came from, and that actually you can lose it all tomorrow, and that, you know, there's no guarantees in life. So I think I'm really grateful is the first point, and I really sort of think that the lessons I learned from estate life and growing up in South East London has given me that grit and that determination that if anything bad happened at SuperAwesome, or, you know, suddenly life went in a different direction for me, I feel like I've got the raw ingredients and materials I've learnt from South East London and growing up on an estate to sort of put the right building blocks in place to get back to, you know, a good lifestyle and one that I can pass on to my kids, and give them the stuff I didn't have, you know. So yeah, South East London's a big part of me, and I like to go back. I'll take my family back there regularly. I've got a lot of friends there. I take my kids back to the cage that I used to play football in, and literally it nearly brings a tear to my eye to see my kids running around in this cage where I used to play football as a kid, just having fun, and they asked to go back. I'm trying to work to create a different life for my kids, but they're like, can we go to the estate and go and play in the cage? And that's just amazing for me. So yeah, South East London's a great place, and I'll never forget that. And I try to do as much as I can in terms of like mentoring, and sort of going into schools in South East London to talk about entrepreneurship, talk about kind of business and how you can sort of, you know, come from a certain sort of situation but create a much better life for yourself and your family. You know, and that fills me with a lot of pride that I can go in and maybe inspire one young person or one person who maybe came from a single family home, or a mixed background or ethnic minority black background, like that stuff matters to me a lot. And yeah, I'm just proud to be a South East Londoner, quite frankly. So I think the first thing is like, you're enough, you know, like you are enough, you know, like you're unique, you've got experiences that, you know, some other people haven't got. So just telling yourself in the mirror that you're enough, I think is the first point. I think the second point is like, where you start isn't where you end the race, you know, so only because you come from a disadvantaged background and maybe the stats say people who come from this background or look like this, you know, 10% less likely to achieve X, you know, like stats are stats, they're there to be broken, you know, so I just think, you know, like thinking about where you are now and not falling into the trap that you think, oh, that's my journey, you know, my family did this job and that's what I have to do. It's like, no, like, trust me, life is a long road, like, and knowing that, like, you don't have to stay in that lane. You can go into multiple other lanes and be successful, you know? So I think kind of understanding that initially. And then I think the other side of it is like, figure out what you love and go and do it and go and pursue it. You know, like, because of like the background I grew up on and like, you know, single family, estate, you know, on benefits and stuff like that, I look at everything as a bonus. You know, like I look at every little thing I get as a bonus. So I think, you know, if young people could sort of take themselves back for a second, stop and go, what do I enjoy doing? What do I love? You know, what makes me smile? What lights me up? And then try and pursue those things. You know, because a friend of mine actually, like, he was a really good footballer, didn't make it as a professional footballer, comes from South East London as well. And he didn't make it as a footballer, he wasn't good enough. But guess what? He's now a black guy who's a dean at a university who is teaching the next generation of coaches in the UK to be football managers or coaches. So like, he's living his dream, right? Because actually he didn't make it as a professional footballer, but actually he's still in the football game, he's still in the industry, and he's actually developing the next generation of coaches. So like, when I talk to him, he's like, I didn't make it as a pro footballer, but I'm living my dream because I'm in the industry that I wanted to be. And I think you don't have to like be Rio Ferdinand or that person to be happy. You could still be in the industry and get lots of joy and get lots of exposure to like amazing people and amazing things. So I think there's some of the tips, and say yes to things, you know, like say yes to opportunities, say yes to things that are a little bit out of your comfort zone, say yes to new opportunities, you know, like I think that's what I've tried to do throughout my career and growing up, is just saying yes to new experiences, because you never know where it's going to take you. You never know who you're going to have a conversation with, who can take you onto, you know, like somewhere that you never even dreamed about or thought existed, you know, as a young black male or female or whatever environment you come from. The future for SuperAwesome looks incredibly bright and exciting. So I think the one thing about the sort of kid space and the youth market is that it's ever changing. So there's stuff that like we don't even know we're going to embark on yet, which I think's just generally exciting for the team. But I think the big thing for us is some broken things. You know, for example, there's a lot of law and regulation and how you engage with kids, which is completely right, and how we've built the business. But like stuff like e-commerce for young people, you know, more and more young people are becoming independent at a younger age, and they want to control what they're buying. They've got their Go Henry cards, you know, and they want to go and purchase stuff and have power. So how do we make sure that there's a safe mechanic and a way that parents can buy into that allows young people to have more control from an e-commerce perspective? I also think building some products around like measurement and actually really understanding what young people are going through and feeling and doing, and trying to help the governments and, you know, parents and teachers understand young people at a deeper level, because there is a bit of a disconnect of like what's really going on with young people today. I think building a product for good that helps, you know, the right people you know, raise up our young people. So I think that's quite exciting as well. I think for me, you know, I think because of the success I've had with SuperAwesome, and you know, I'm trying to give back as much as I can. So I'm doing a lot of advising and investing in young founders. So I've been investing in businesses for probably about 5 years now, and trying to support young founders, especially ones from sort of disadvantaged backgrounds. You know, whether that's just giving them advice, giving them support, giving them a nudge forward, looking at their marketing materials or their investor materials and giving them pointers in the right direction. So I'm getting a lot out of that, and I'm really enjoying that. I've got a couple of podcasts that I'm going to be launching over the next couple of years, which I'm excited about. One is really focused on young people and empowering young people through the art of storytelling of successful people and celebrities. So very excited about that. And yeah, just want to keep supporting the SuperAwesome team to, you know, keep building the business. You know, I think there's $1 billion opportunity there for SuperAwesome to build into, which I think is incredibly exciting. So yeah, just keep busy, keep giving back, and you know what, keep enjoying life, you know, because life's short and, you know, you only get one go at it. So, you know, just enjoy it as much as you can. So yeah, lots of exciting things coming up. So I am on social media. I might be a bit older than some of your other guests, but yeah, at Mr. Lee Veach is my Instagram, and also, yeah, super happy. And then I'm on LinkedIn as well as Lee Veach. So you know, probably they're the best forums to sort of like reach out to me if you've got any questions or need some support. And I also work with a charity called Future First, which are a great young person entrepreneurial charity that go into schools and you know, support young people, again through the art of storytelling of people who used to go to those schools. So that is you know, somebody young watching, you know, checking out Future First is a great place for a resource, and just getting inspired by people that look like you, come from the same background as you. So definitely plug in Future First, and yeah, like, thank you for having me.